Well, because nobody demanded it, and Marvel Studios was in a f it, we need content kind of a mood, it's time for Agatha All Along, / Agatha House of Harkness, / Agatha Coven of Chaos, / Agatha Darkhold Diaries, / Agatha F My Life, I already hate this shit and I haven't even watched it yet! There's a lot to cover. I'm doing 3 episodes in one here, so hit the intro and let's get started. Agatha All Along. You'd be forgiven if you'd forgotten this show was coming, because it's been gestating for a few years now, had next to no advertising campaign, and gone through so many name changes I'm pretty sure even the people who made it had no idea what this thing was supposed to be anymore. Not that surprising when it's painfully obvious that the only reason this show even happened in the first place was less to do with there being a story worth telling or any real demand for it, and mostly due to the fact that the Agatha All Along music number went viral in 2021. Fast forward a little bit, and the general consensus when we found out the show was finally getting released seemed to be a resounding, why did we need this? I mean, was anybody really clamoring for a spin-off show about the villain from WandaVision? Not Wanda, the other villain. Yeah, her. Sure, Catherine Hahn is great, but was anyone asking for this? Don't you think you missed your window by a year or two? Let's not kid ourselves. This whole project feels like a holdover from a time when Marvel was still coasting off the high of Avengers Endgame and thought they could base a movie or a show around any D-lister in the Marvel database, I'm looking at you, and it would be a smash hit just because it had the Marvel logo on it. Now, was that their thought process while making this? I don't know, but that sure is what it felt like when I saw the trailer. My only takeaways from which were, 1, I have no idea who this was made for, aside from middle-aged soccer moms whose only interest in superheroes is which MCU movies they can drop their kids off at for 2 hours while they're getting their hair done, and 2, it looks like there's only one male character in this entire show, and $20 says he's gay as hell. On the other hand, Aubrey Plaza playing a sexy lesbian witch? Giggity. That's an idea I can get on board with. You know, because representation is so important, you guys. So important. So aside from Agatha Harkness having some kind of lesbian-themed magical romp with April Ludgate and Kitty Foreman, I had no idea what this show was about and really didn't care enough to find out either. That was my hype level when I sat down to watch the first 2 episodes, because Marvel doubled up on some of the episode drops so as to not drag this thing out too long, and the last time they pulled a stunt like that was with Echo, so keep that in mind. Anywho, that new Marvel Disney Plus show you're just dying to hear about. Let's dive in. The title sequence is curious because it lists a bunch of names, but instead of the actors, it lists the characters. Not their actual names, but the fake names Wanda gave them during that whole song and dance in WandaVision, I think. Not sure why, but it seemed worth pointing out. So because of what Wanda did, Agatha now thinks she's actually Agnes and working as a police detective in Westview. She's been off the job for a while because something bad happened, we don't know what, but now there's a case that only she can solve, and she gets called in to solve the murder of a dead body in the forest. So Agnes stares intently at the body for 30 seconds or so, and then f***s off. Only she can solve it, you guys. Just trust them on this. Agnes pays a visit to the local library because the body had a checkout card from a book on her, the only thing it had on her, but that particular book had been stolen 3 years ago, and all the other copies have been mysteriously burned, like with a flamethrower or something. And yet the entire Stephanie Meyer shelf is in mid-condition. We are obviously dealing with someone very sick. We go to the police station and find out that soil samples collected from the victim match soil from Eastern Europe, and you can probably already tell where they're going with this. Then Aubrey Plaza walks in, and she's climbed up a few rungs on the ladder since her days in the parks department. She's a Fed now, come to help with the case. But that's not the real story here. The real story is that there's a history between these two ladies. And I think you all know what kind of history I mean. The The meeting is brief. Agnes treats Aubrey like shit, just like she treats everyone in this show like shit, and then tells her to leave. Without even asking how Andy and Leslie are doing? Who hurt you, Agnes? She goes to a pawn shop appraiser or something to get info on a locket she found at the crime scene, and the appraiser proceeds to do Agnes's job for her by finding a lock of hair inside the locket, which Agnes never bothered to examine herself. She's a detective, you know. She does do some detective stuff, though, figuring out that the first letter of each word in the title of the stolen library book spells out Darkhold before the captain kicks her out for working too hard? Doesn't seem to me that she's done much work at all today, but alright. So Agnes goes home and sadly enters a room that looks like it once belonged to a young boy who is not there anymore. I guess the writers thought they might need to do something to make us sympathize with Agnes, since the last time we saw her, she was gleefully cackling about murdering a dog. Gonna take a little more than that, dudes. Then Aubrey Plaza shows up with pizza, and we get a scene where the two of them talk about TikTok and makeup. No, I'm not kidding. Before the conversation turns to the case. It's obvious here that Aubrey knows what's going on with this false reality and is trying to nudge Agnes in the direction where she can remember things, and the mood music tells us that Aubrey has evil intentions by doing this, but Agnes/Agatha was an unrepentant villain herself, so why should we care if someone's out to get her? Whatever Aubrey wants to do to her, she probably had it coming, so is Aubrey supposed to be the good guy in this situation? Because that's kind of what it looks like. There's a noise upstairs, Agnes finds some punk kid snooping around, and spends several minutes chasing this asshole all over the neighborhood until Kitty Foreman accidentally hits him with her car. Then, instead of getting the kid medical attention, Agnes takes him downtown to question him because, well, if he isn't connected to this big mystery that's going on, then we don't really have a plot. The kid goes into the interrogation room, and one look at this effeminate little emo twerp with his painted fingernails and guy liner makes me pretty confident that I've got $20 coming to me pretty soon. Agnes starts with the bad cop, bitch cop routine, playing both roles herself, and wow. The overacting in this scene is really something to behold. I'm not sure I could describe it, but it's as if the director told Kathryn Hahn to act like a really angry 6-year-old whose little brother got caught stealing her Pokemon cards and then lied to their parents to get out of it. Total loser! Or totally lying! No, I can't believe Marvel's paying me for this either! I am acting! And now that any arguments about Kathryn Hahn needing an acting showcase are out the window, they show us that Agnes is seeing things. The photos of this morning's crime scene are just pictures of flowers, and Aubrey Plaza isn't really there. The effeminate little twerp starts chanting in Latin or something, and that's when Agnes gets pissed off, throws him in the tank, and goes to the coroner's office, where the name W. Maximoff magically appears on the toe tag of the corpse from the woods. Why is Agnes the only detective who could solve this case exactly? She hasn't had to do much. Hell, everything she needed to figure things out was either done for her or dropped in her lap. Frankly, she's about as good a detective as Jen Walters is a lawyer. Homegirl is not off to a great start. Aubrey's there again, tells her the witch is dead, but she's still trapped in a spell, so she needs to claw her way out. And with that, Agnes strips out of 5 layers of clothes, cycling through all her different looks from WandaVision, including the black and white one, which was a cool effect. A. Harkness appears on the toe tag, and suddenly she's back in her house, buck-ass naked. I'm not sure how we got from A to B there, but it, at least something's finally happening. She goes outside, still naked, mind you, but it's Disney Plus naked, all her naughty bits are covered up, because why would the lesbians this show is aimed at want to see a naked woman? I mean, that's just silly. She grills some of the neighborhood people who we previously saw playing different characters in the Detective Dog and Pony show, which they don't remember anymore, so it's not entirely clear what's going on. Either Agatha was imagining the whole thing, or when Wanda trapped Agatha in this false reality, she also trapped the people of Westview, again, which you, Wanda, if that's what happened. But now that the spell is broken, Agatha remembers the false reality, but they don't. So which one is it? I don't know what they're going for here. Is this another it's magic, we don't have to explain it situation? Who knows? So it's been 3 years since WandaVision, and Agatha has her memories back now, but no magic. Oh, and the asshole who broke into her house is tied up and gagged in her closet for some reason. I was hoping she'd leave him in there, but no such luck. Then something that's worth staying awake for finally happens at the 31-minute mark, when Aubrey Plaza blows the front door off its hinges and marches in sexy evil witch garb. No offense to Catherine Hahn's bare ass, but I'll take 2 of that. They have a fight where they just kind of throw each other around the living room for a while, but don't worry, there's plenty of lines and body language here to remind us that these two are about as straight as a pitch meeting run by Leslie Headland, almost as if the fight is a metaphor for something else. During the fight, they mention that Aubrey can't kill Agatha because it's not allowed. Why? I don't know, and they don't tell us. Agatha says Aubrey beating her like this would be undignified, and when Aubrey offers to let Agatha take her power, Agatha says that would kill her. Why? I don't know, and they don't tell us. Also, there's a whole bunch of other people who want Agatha dead, but they don't tell us who or why, because we don't need useless information like that. Are you sensing a pattern here? Long story short, Aubrey gives Agatha until sundown to get her mojo back, and in the meantime, she's going to tell the Salem 7 where to find her, as if we're supposed to know who the they are. That was episode 1, and if it seemed like I skipped over a lot of stuff, trust me, I didn't. Truth is, not much really happened here. Agatha falls bass-backwards into a mystery that solves itself, and then remembers who she is because the plot says so. Whoopee! And now we're supposed to be scared for the dog murderer because the Salem 7 are coming for her? Do you know or care who the Salem 7 are? I don't. This show has a very similar vibe to Echo, in that it feels like there were scenes that got cut that we needed to see to understand what the hell is going on. Why can't Aubrey kill Agatha? Who are the Salem 7? Why did Agatha remember the false reality while everyone else forgot it? Why should we give a shit about any of this? Beats me. I'm just saying, there are some pretty big holes you need to fill in here, writers, and episode 2 doesn't do much to fix that. Speaking of, episode 2 begins with us learning about that punk kid. Lucky us. Shock of all shocks, he's a shameless fanboy who thinks Agatha Harkness is the bestest ever. Kid must be a cat person, and he broke the spell on her because he wants Agatha to take him to the Witch's Road. If you're wondering what the Witch's Road is, well, so am I. They're pretty light on the details, but it's some plot device that if you walk it, you gain lots of magic power or something, and that's what the kid is after. The thing is, though, we've seen in the Doctor Strange movies that anyone can learn sorcery and gain lots of magic power just by studying and practice. So this isn't about the kid wanting power, it's about him being a lazy bitch who wants a shortcut to power. Also, there's a weird spell that prevents Agatha from hearing him whenever he tells her who he is, so there's some kind of reveal coming with him. I hope it's more creative than what I'm thinking, but if he's not Wiccan from the comics, I'll be surprised. I thought Wiccan and Speed were erased from existence at the end of WandaVision, but who knows, maybe it's a multiverse thing. God help us. Anyway, Agatha's intrigued by this kid, and there are people coming to kill her at sundown, even though that's supposed to be not allowed, so she figures maybe she can get her powers back this way. At which point, I guess she'll go back to terrorizing sorcerers and murdering dogs, but because she's a lesbian who does it with magic, that makes it okay. Are we sure Leslie Headland didn't write this? The rest of the episode is about these two driving around, putting together a girl crew of fellow witches, because there are a bunch of them just hanging out in town apparently. Wow, how convenient. Along the way, the kid gets a phone call from his boyfriend. Yoink! Hello, a third of a tank of gas. Sorry, I can't make change. And then there's a really awkward moment. They're driving through this rural wooded area. Agatha tells the kid to pull the car over, and then suddenly they're in the middle of a town. What the hell happened there? Fire the editor! Jesus Christ! Whatever. Their first stop is this shyster, psychic, and clairvoyant who wants nothing to do with this Witch's Road f***ery, even though she's getting evicted from her apartment and doesn't seem to have anything else going on. But she does pull some Professor Trelawney bullshit out of her asshole and divines a list of other witches for Agatha to go nag, and she herself is on that list. So apparently she's in the coven now, even though she didn't want to be, even though they never convinced her to be. Why? I mean, I know why, but I can't use the plot says so gag yet. I think I'm gonna need it later. Stop number 2 is a candle shop run by a witch who made a pointed effort to never run into Agatha again, even though her place of business is literally within 3 miles of Agatha's house. Makes perfect sense. They mentioned that there's some sort of spell on this lady that's kept her magicless for the last 100 years, so she has no magic at all, even though she's centuries old and doesn't look a day over 40. And if you think they bother making sense of that one, you haven't been paying attention. She wants nothing to do with them either, but they point out that she's currently in a bit of legal trouble. It seems no less than 800 customers have been horrifically burned by her products, and she's drowning in lawsuits, which, if convicted, would land her in prison for life. A pretty long f***ing time when you're immortal. So the Witch's Road is her only way to weasel out of that, which the show thinks we should be rooting for her to do, for some reason. Because the writers hadn't thrown enough cliches at us already, they find witch number 3 working at a Hot Topic. Yes, seriously. Agatha gets her fired from her job and then has the balls to ask for her help, baiting the hook with the tease that if she does help them, she might find out what happened to her mom, who, I guess, died mysteriously or something. And to this woman's credit, she blows them off, but then she shows up at Agatha's house a few scenes later anyway because it. Based on what happens next, I'm not sure hanging out at Hot Topic wouldn't be the lesser of two evils, but hey, what do I know? So all 3 witches show up, but they still need one more. Finding the Witch's Road takes a specific number of witches because you, we say so, that's why. And there was one more person on that list the first witch gave Agatha, but that wasn't a name, it was a heart. So Agatha goes across the street and grabs Kitty Foreman because Mrs. Hart was the name Wanda gave her during WandaVision. And Kitty's not a witch, which you'd think would be a deal breaker when you're forming a coven, but apparently that doesn't matter? Yeah, go ahead, we can use it now. So, as it happens, finding the Witch's Road is so pathetically easy, it's almost as if the writers are bullshitting us or something. All it takes, literally, all it takes is singing a song. So our middle-aged motley crew of Nancy Downs wannabes stand in a circle, sing a song about the Witch's Road, and my life raw with a 10-foot pole. This scene goes on forever. No joke. This was the climax of the premiere, a f***ing sing-along. And Jesus Christ, it would not f***ing end. You could watch the entire director's cut of Rebel Moon Parts 1 and 2 in less time than it took them to finish this f***ing thing. And right now, that almost sounds like a better alternative. Almost. I swear to God, you could taste how desperate they were to get another musical number to go viral. But ladies, that Agatha All Along song was a f***ing fluke, okay? You can't replicate that shit, especially if you're trying to replicate it. If it happens, it happens. But if you try to force it, it just makes you look like jackasses. Which, now that I think about it, is very on brand for this project, so proceed. While they're singing, some generic-looking hooded assholes appear outside the house, so they're trying to break in, and since the song didn't work immediately, Agatha starts bitching out everyone to try to goad them into attacking her with magic, because if they do that, she can absorb the magic and power up that way. But that in itself is a magical ability, which Agatha isn't supposed to have any of right now. You figure it out. Finally, some mysterious hatch to a magical staircase appears on the floor, just in time for these assholes to escape the hooded assholes who are trying to break in. And if you're wondering why the hooded assholes can't follow them, well, they just can't, okay? Trust me, Marvel isn't about to start explaining magic at this point. It's enough that the episode is f***ing over. The staircase leads to a foresty soundstage and a path to who knows where, so they all take their shoes off and start walking down the bitch's road. Yeah, I said it. After this episode, I think that's a much more accurate term. Okay, so, this premiere sucked. I have no idea who this show was made for, and it seems like the only people it could possibly appeal to are people who don't watch Marvel shows in the first place. The characters are unsympathetic, self-serving assholes, with the exception of Kitty Foreman, who I guess is there for comic relief, but why they need comic relief when the entire plot is f***ing laughable, I couldn't tell you. What passes for a plot is full of holes and things that make no sense. It's painfully slow-paced. Weird shit just happens and they barely explain any of it. You don't like or care about anybody. Hell, I was hoping the hooded assholes would kill these dipshits. The whole point of the story is Agatha trying to get her powers back. But why would we want her to do that when, one, she's a villain and a dog murderer, don't forget about that, and two, she's been a complete piece of shit to everybody she's interacted with so far and is not subtle about how she she only brought these women together so she could use them to get what she wants. Not that they're any different, they're all horrible people, and if your girl squad's only accomplishment so far is being so unlikable that they make me want to see them all run afoul of Wilson Fisk at a car door, you might have needed to do a rewrite or two. Kathryn Hahn is a goddamn delight, and her performance is fun to watch, I will give it that. But why the f did we need this? There is no creative reason for Agatha All Along to even exist. From where I'm sitting, it only got made because someone at Marvel really wanted to give Kathryn Hahn her own vehicle. This entire thing is riding on her back. Take away her and Aubrey Plaza, and you really don't have a show here. And yet, here we are. Blessed f***ing be. Outside of poor schmucks like me whose job it is to review this schlock, I don't know why any Marvel fans would watch this. Frankly, it comes off like the MCU's answer to the Acolyte. So, hey, if lesbian Earth Witches are what does it for you, congratulations. But as much as I like Aubrey Plaza, that's not gonna be enough. And unfortunately, there's still more to slog through. Because these Wednesday night episode drops don't fit my schedule at all, I'm covering episode 3 in this video as well. And oh my f***ing god, if you thought the first 2 were uneventful, that was just a warm-up. I have no goddamn idea what this one was supposed to be, but it was so boring, even the middle-aged soccer moms Jack Schaefer seemed to think this might appeal to wouldn't have been able to stay awake through it. I cannot in good conscience bore you with the details. And luckily, there are no details to do that with. The ladies walk the bitches road talking about a bunch of pointless bullshit, they find a beach house along the way and sit around drinking wine. That right there, that's half the episode. If you think I'm joking, go watch it. Actually, wait, no, I'm sorry, don't watch it. Just trust me, okay? 16 interminable, never-ending, life-sucking minutes and absolutely nothing happened. So let's just pick things up at the halfway point. Unbeknownst to any of them, a timer has started counting down from 30 minutes. So they've got half an hour to do something. They drink a bunch of wine, but the wine is poisoned. Apparently, to get to the end of the road, they have to pass a bunch of tests, and this is the start of that. The first thing the poison does is make their faces all swell up like the Elephant Man's, but only for a minute, and then they're back to normal. Because we can't have our middle-aged girl squad looking bloated. That wouldn't be appealing to the 50-year-old lesbians watching on the couch at home with their 10 cats. Anyway, test number 1, make a poison antidote. They spend several minutes running around the beach house looking for potion ingredients and common household items. I'd suggest using bleach so you could all put yourselves out of my misery, but who am I kidding? I'd never be that lucky. While they're doing this, they all start hallucinating about various things. Witch number 2 sees a dead nun, I think, and a skeleton in a black hood. Maybe that's the specter of death or something. I don't f***ing know, and they don't elaborate. Diverse witch number 3 sees, stop me if you've heard this one, an evil white man who calls her inconvenient, rude, and then tries to drown her in the sink. Maybe that's supposed to be scary, but since the only thing we know about this woman is that she was utterly nonchalant about being responsible for horrifically burning 800 innocent people, I say she can f***ing die in that sink. Diverse witch number 4 sees her mother, who tells her that her grandmother was just killed by a curse on their family, and then tries to kill herself before the curse can kill her too. Great idea, that'll show that stupid curse who's boss. And Agatha hears a baby crying, but in the crib there's no baby, just the Darkhold, because we found out in an earlier scene that Agatha, paragon of good motherhood that she is, traded her own son for the Book of the Damned. And yeah, that sounds like something Agatha would do. But don't worry, you guys, she totally feels bad about it. Kind of. Maybe. Little bit. Oh, and now the baby might be a demon or working for Mephisto or something. But I wouldn't worry about Mephisto. None of these women are married to a gorgeous red-headed supermodel, so they've got nothing he wants. All of a sudden, the beach house is underwater because magic, and the water's leaking in. So, tick-tock, ladies. They mix all the ingredients together in the kitchen sink, but they missed one, and Diverse Witch number 3 can't remember what it is. So with 60 seconds left on the clock, Agatha gives her a pep talk saying that she hates Diverse Witch number 3, but she's also the bestest ever, and she can totally do this. That jogs her memory that the last ingredient is blood of the unpoisoned, so they gash the kid's hand open with a kitchen knife since he's the only one who didn't get drunk with them. They pour his blood into the sink, they drink out of it, and that's it. It was all pretty quick and easy. A new magical doorway opens up in the oven, and none of them want to get in there because I bet no one's cleaned that thing in ages. But then the ocean starts pouring in through the windows, so it's not like they've got a choice. Kitty Foreman is unconscious because she may not have gotten the antidote in time, and our bastion of heroism, Agatha, is like, her. That 70s show was lame, and the 90s spin-off is even worse. Just leave the bitch here and let's go. But the others convince her because they don't really know what'll happen if they leave Kitty behind, so they stuff her in the oven, and they all slip down a water slide. Yes, a water slide. Your guess is as good as mine. Maybe they thought no one was gonna have fun watching this shit show, so at least the actors should have fun making it. But turns out there's no fun to be had anywhere because Kitty Foreman is dead. And the episode ends with Agatha being all, "Who's Kitty Foreman?" Ah! It's funny because she doesn't give a shit about getting an innocent woman killed. You, Agatha. Dumbass! Okay, that was episode 3. We're finally all caught up. And again, if it sounds like I skipped over a lot here, I didn't. Practically nothing f***ing happened in this one. They drank some wine and made a potion. That's about it. The only notable thing, if you even want to call it that, is that Kitty Foreman died, which might be a problem when she's the only remotely sympathetic character in this entire cast of loathsome nuggets. Not because she did anything, she didn't, but because she had no idea what the hell was going on and just felt like an innocent victim, much like anyone who had the misfortune of wasting 32 minutes of their life watching this turd storm. Marvel, seriously, what the hell are you doing here? This is embarrassing. There's barely a story. I don't care about anyone or anything that's happening right now. The characters are unlikable pieces of crap, and after 3 whole episodes, the only thing I want is for every single one of these asshats to be as dead as Kitty Foreman. If this is what Agatha is going to be all along, then don't be surprised if we end up throwing it in the same dumpster as She-Hulk and Echo, marked with the sign, "Things Marvel wish Thanos had snapped out of existence when he had the chance." It's gonna take a hell of a lot more than lesbian earth witches to salvage what I just watched. This show is going to be a f***ing chore to get through, but if you guys want to see me do that, then I need something from you first. So let's make the views on this video worth the pain I'm gonna endure here, and then do all the other YouTube things. Hit that like button, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe if you haven't already, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll see if I can't convince myself to wade through this muck for a few more weeks. Hell, I made it through Batwoman and She-Hulk, so I'm nothing if not a glutton for punishment. See you next time.